What if I told you one of the fastest tight ends in college football is also one of the hardest evaluations going into the season? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Draft Yoda here. We're dad driven and prospect focused. Today, we're breaking down the Virginia Tech tight end, Luke Reynolds. Luke currently holds a 9.00 out of 10, making him a number 47 overall prospect. Tight end number 4 going into this college season. And he's one of the more fascinating and frustrating tight end evaluations on my board. Because with Luke, the question is not whether the tools exist, they do. Recruiting profile is massive. The athletic testing is rare. The speed is real. The background as a former quarterback gives him a different feel for space. But the production has not matched the tools. So for this evaluation, it comes down to one big question. Is Luke Reynolds a future NFL mismatch tight end who just needs the right structure? Or is he a workout warrior profile whose tape never catches up to the recruiting hype? Well, let's hope at Virginia Tech we get to find out this season. Luke had one of the wildest recruiting rises in recent history. There are recruiting climbs, and then there's what happened with Reynolds. When from the outside of the top, he went from outside the top 100 to a 5-star recruit and the number 1 tight end in the class of 2026 within 5 months. That doesn't happen very often. That kind of jump tells you evaluators saw something they could not ignore. And I'll tell you what they saw. They saw size, they saw athletic ability, they saw movement skills, they saw receiving upside, and they saw a projection where the ceiling was different from most tight ends in the country. Reynolds is a Massachusetts native who played at a prep academy, Cheshire Academy, in Connecticut. As a senior, he caught 48 passes for 754 yards and 9 touchdowns. That's strong production. One of the details of this evaluation is Reynolds is a former quarterback. Former quarterbacks understand space differently. They understand timing. They understand where this ball is supposed to go, and they understand what a quarterback wants from a target. It doesn't automatically make you a good tight end, but it gives you a strong foundation to build off of in developing a tight end. Reynolds enrolled early and got on the field as a freshman. And one of the more memorable moments was a fake punt conversion against Minnesota. That might sound like a small detail, but it matters. Coaches do not hand that kind of moment to a player they don't trust. A fake punt is not just a trick play. It requires hands, awareness, and confidence, and the ability to execute under pressure. That's big. 2025 came around, and he played 13 games, catching 26 passes and 257 yards. He also handled an inline blocking role that allowed just one pressure. And that's something that I really want to stress on is one pressure as a blocker from a tight end is very big, especially in a class where a lot of tight ends, and I mean, it's what it's been for a few years, is a lot of tight ends are big slots. To have somebody who can block and catch sets you apart. He's not just a detached big receiver. He has inline responsibility, and he had pass protection responsibility. And allowing one pressure is a positive mark for him. He 26 catches, 750, 200. Sorry, wow, dyslexia kicked in. 257 yards, 0 touchdowns. For a former tight end 1 in a recruiting cycle, that's not a massive production that you want. But while the tools say one thing, the box score says another, and now we get him at Virginia Tech and a season to really kind of show some stuff. I want to be fair for Reynolds because the offensive context around him matters. Um, 2025 wasn't a clean season for him. There were quarterback changes, offensive line instability, unclear role definition, a program that never fully gave him the runway to become a focal point. It all complicated the tape for him, but part of what makes him special is his speed. Reynolds has a rare time speed for a tight end position. In fact, it's the fastest profile in the tight end group this year. And we've seen what players who run super fast from the tight end, where they go in drafts. Historically, the faster tight ends rise in the draft classes. Because if you put a linebacker on them, they can run away. If you put a safety on them, they can use their size against them. If they put a corner on them, the offense has a size mismatch like none other. And that's the theory for Reynolds, that speed should open up the seam, should allow him to threaten the middle of the field and create vertical stress. Problem is, it just hasn't happened yet. Now, the recruiting profile is something that matters when going through with him, because you don't get 5 stars without people seeing something in you. And the tight end is a developmental position, especially since he played quarterback before playing tight end. And a lot of tight ends take some time. They have to learn a route tree. They have to learn blocking. They have to build strength and understand coverages. So a sophomore with true 5-star tools still hasn't broken out yet. I'm not worried about that. The tools are there. The age, he's sophomore, so he's still young. The development curve is there. I think he has the ability to really flash. And he showed that against Villanova. 4 catches for 73 yards, moved some chains against UCLA. He's shown flashes of being able to be that guy. I just want to see it consistently. One of the more encouraging parts of his profile is the physical work, the blocking value. It's rare nowadays to truly have somebody who can handle inline blocking responsibilities. And he showed that by only allowing 1 pressure. That matters quite a bit, especially when it comes to tight ends. As in my rankings, you don't have to be, George Kittle as a blocker, but you can't be unplayable. You can't not block. At that point, you become a big slot. You don't become a tight end, in my opinion. And his size, his willingness, and the inline experience help buoy him while he learns the rest, in my opinion. One of the things he needs to really improve on is the actual production itself. 0 touchdowns on 35 targets is hard to ignore. For a tight end with his athletic profile, he can't not score. Tight ends with size and speed should be useful in the red zone and have a strong role. They should, be seam threats. They should be goal line targets. They should, create matchup problems. Reynolds did not really show that in a scoring production, and that has to change. If he goes to Virginia Tech and finds the end zone, this evaluation clears up quickly. But if he has another year with no touchdown impact, the workout warrior label is going to scream loud for him. Another issue I have for him is if you have this much speed, it has to become football speed. It has to show up in routes and separation, has to show up in the seam, has to show up after the catch. And right now, the testing is telling us one thing, and the tape is showing us something different. And I need those two to match up. Either you are as fast as you've shown us on in t-shirt and shorts, or you are not that fast, and we've been lied to about the overall speed. Um, Third thing is ball security and reliability. You know, you have limited targets as it is, and you have 3 drops, and you have a fumble. Those are loose ends that make the season feel untidy. If your production is massive, teams can overlook those small mistakes. 3 drops against 70 catches is a lot easier to swallow than 3 drops against 35. It just is what it is. Reynolds needs to become a more dependable target with cleaner hands. He needs to finish the catches and he needs to protect the football. Those all need to happen. So why is he tight end 4? Trey Green is a mismatch profile and his production is super loud. Chris Corbo is your more traditional tight end foundation, and his tape is cleaner. Terrence Carter is a passing down role at a yak profile that is undeniable. Luke has shown that he can block. He has the 5-star pedigree. Number 1 tight end recruit, 6'5" frame. I need to see everything else line up for him to match up with what we're being told. That's where I am with him. I think at right now this grade is his high side. If you can match everything up and show us, in 2026, for 2026 the checklist is fairly clear for him. Score touchdowns, win vertically, become a real red zone target, continue to improve as a blocker, clean up the drops and the ball security. Boom. That happens, you're right here in the top 5 of tight ends drafted in the league. If that doesn't happen, man, you need to stay in school because you got some work to do. It's as simple as that. Could he climb? Yeah, he could climb in the tight ends rankings. I don't think he will, simply because of the 3 ahead of him I have more faith in this season. But he's going to be the fastest one when we line up at the combine, he's going to be the fastest one. And speed makes people do silly things sometimes. Rest in peace, Al Davis, but he would draft speed over everything else. And this would have been his kind of tight end. I think that where I have him graded currently is his high side. Number 47 overall, solid day 2 pick. I think it's his high side. He's currently a 9.0, 47 overall, tight end number 4 going into the season. He's a former 5-star tight end with elite speed, 6'5" frame, his inline blocking experience, and he has one of the best raw tool sets at the position. The ceiling is very real, but the production has to match the profile. At the end of the day, that's what 2026 is. You got to match the profile, man. That's where I have him on my board. What do you think about Luke Reynolds? Can Virginia Tech unlock him as a 5-star? Is he being undervalued because of the messy offensive situation he was in? Does he lack production? Does the lack of production worry you as much as it worries me? Let's talk about it down in the comments. If you like these player evaluations, they're built around film and analytics. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, because we're going to keep putting in this work. Our goal is to have over 100 prospects before the season starts. We're getting almost halfway there. I'm Draft Yoda, Bill Workman, your favorite draft nerd's favorite draft nerd, and we'll see you guys in the next one.